This is the award for best DLC of of the year 2020 at Shacknews. And David L. Craddock, I'm sorry, you are disqualified from this because you are not downloadable content.
Oh, guys, I'm the best all year, every year. You know?
I know your initials are DLC, but...
I guess to Greg's point is, what is the difference between best DLC and best expansion?
Well, an expansion is an expansion, and DLC is content that you can download.
Oh, no.
Does it have to be free in order to count?
No.
It can
Okay.
be.
It can cost money.
Expansions
DLC can
typically
cost
are.
money. DLC can be free. DLC could, but it has to be something that didn't ship with the game. It's something that you didn't really know was coming necessarily. Like sometimes they give you a roadmap for DLC, but like it's something that wasn't in the game at launch, that isn't as material as an expansion. Like Shadowlands is an expansion. Goose Game getting co-op is DLC.
Thank you for bringing up Goose Game first, because what a pleasant surprise that was. To get, like, Goose Game was already like a phenomenon in itself, and it was like the it game last year. So when I heard the honk at the end of that Indie World presentation, and you saw a second Goose, it's just like, okay, this is wonderful. It's going to be so much fun to revisit that game. And it turns it from like, you know, asshole simulator to like a couples building exercise. Like you can play that with a significant other, and then like you just bond over like being as big a jerk as possible. And
I thought you were gonna go for the obvious joke of it turns it from an asshole simulator to an asshole simulator.
Yeah, assholes plural simulator now.
Yeah.
And it actually does change the way you approach a lot of the way you would typically approach the game. Like now you have somebody who can play a decoy, who can be like, who could distract the gardener, or you could like gang up on somebody. And I love the different ways it lets you approach Goose Game. And I thought it breathed a lot of new life into it. And it's my favorite thing this year.
That's nice and all, but you know what else got DLC this year?
And what else got a lot of DLC this year?
Super Mario Maker 2! Game of the year 2019!
The giant DLC dump it got.
I almost said 2020.
You did.
Yeah.
This was my nomination too, honestly. Like
World Maker!
Right from the beginning, we were like, you know what would be better than one level if I could make a whole world and play other worlds, and then they were like, here.
But it's almost like I was already doing that with my series of briefcase levels. This gave me an opportunity to type. World. Yeah, you know, Ozzy, I haven't started work on Super Briefcase World because I went back and I wanted to play through Super Mario World to get inspiration, because this DLC is totally inspired by Super Mario World.
Yeah, and it gives you like overworld elements to play with. Mm-hmm. Like gives you like mushroom houses and all that.
Or that, you know, the slot machine game.
Yes.
That's in it.
It adds new ones too.
Yeah.
Like the baseball one. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things in Super Mario, in my opinion, has always been theming of worlds. Like Super Mario 3 going from like the normal world to like the giant world to like the cloud world to the underwater world. That is one of my favorite things about Super Mario 3, and what makes it, in my opinion, like one of the strongest titles of the entire franchise.
It's one of my favorite things about Odyssey. I thought they did a really good job of like themed worlds in that game as well. But yeah, no, this game is this DLC came at the perfect time, right? It was like the middle of April. We were all stuck at home. I was already working on things, but outside of just the world update, we got all the Koopalings. So you had all of these bosses that you could use. You got the Super Mario 2 mushroom, which just completely changes how you can design levels.
The stuff it opened up in terms of like level creation. Like
your fucking level, Ozzy. That fucking level. I still can't beat that level.
That stupid level? Oh my god.
No one has ever beaten it.
I might have made that a little too hard.
Ozzy, you're a monster.
No one's like, everyone talks about my levels being so hard, and then Ozzy comes out with this one that's just like.
It actually was harder at one point because it would have been harder, but even I couldn't beat it at that point.
They Sony engineered yourself.
Man.
I'm gonna have to make. I have to. Yeah. No. But that level wouldn't exist without the Super Mario 2 mushroom, which is why.
The different stuff that the Mecha Koopas can do, like it can fire bullets or it can fire lasers, and oh my god, the stuff that people are doing with the lasers, like it's just amazing, and I love the creativity that it's opened up with great level creators out there.
I could not. And it inspired me to make Briefcase Level 8, which was born out of the depths of the pandemic. I took all the negativity in the world, and I made that level, and it's a boss rush.
Your boss rush is brutal, man.
It's every single boss. You know, you got every.
You didn't put checkpoints, you masochist.
No,
it's not just every single boss. It's every single boss, and then all of them at once.
I take partial responsibility for Asif's lack of a checkpoint, because you texted me like, should I add a checkpoint? And I was like, no.
And then you put a cheap jump at the end.
Wait.
Like a troll jump at the end.
I mean, I'm known for my troll jumps, but like...
The jumps at the beginning are trickier than any at the end.
I think the first jump is the hardest thing in that level. But my point is that
it's frustrating.
I would not have made that level without this DLC. I was almost waiting for it. Like, for me, Briefcase Level 8 is my World 8. You know,
and then you're trolling David with the clown car.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, man. The clown car is so... I did learn how to fly it, but I don't like it, and I never will.
And you still haven't beaten the level. But yeah, like, I think it's amazing. You go through all eight Koopalings and Bowser Jr., and then you have to fight Bowser.
It's like going from a ballet recital and falling into a mosh pit when you get to the clown car part. The clown car just makes everything terrible in life. The clown car is 2020 as a vehicle, honestly. Like,
but I take pride in this level.
Hard and upsetting, and
it's a balance between really challenging platform puzzles and kind of basic boss battles that are akin to like what you would see in Super Mario 3. You know, like
car. Yeah.
Where you go in, you know, you're on a ship, you go in a pipe, you fight the boss battle, and then you're kind of on your way. I kind of viewed it that way. The thing about it is, I ran out of parts making this level. I ran out of keys, I ran out of doors, I had to do things where some of the boss battles were in the overworld, some were in the underworld. The amount of work that was required to get everything in this level was daunting.
Satan's down there like, oh darn, I've run out of rusty nails for this layer of hell.
Well, you remember, like, I was done, I had finished the level.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I had the Koopa Clown Car, because the reason the Koopa Clown Car part exists, David, is I was out of keys. I couldn't put a key in Bowser Jr. So I was like, I'm gonna add more spikes and more fire.
But the turtle, the Koopa shells can go into the car. And then
a little bit of RNG.
There's a little bit
of RNG. It's like, you know, in Dark Souls, Blake got stuck in a wall. You know,
that's not RNG. That's RNG.
I got better.
Not RNG. Yeah, Blake got good. Oh, argument refuted.
I got out of it when I loaded it back up.
You gotta be quick, man. That's all.
You do have to be quick.
We haven't even brought up like the other like components that they added. The P balloon, which the P balloon for Super Mario World, which actually led to one of my favorite levels that I played this year. From
oh my god, the letter P.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, P balloons?
I haven't played this level.
Yeah, Matty Thorson, one of the creators of Celeste, made a great P balloon level.
Oh, I'm familiar with his levels.
Yeah. So you gotta give that a shot.
Yeah. Okay. It's always been awesome to see Maddie's levels. I made a P balloon level that's like it was for the Shacknews stimulus games.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was the boss battle for that. There are 3 stimulus games levels that came out since this DLC dropped.
It's fun to think about whether if this pandemic had happened, if Nintendo would have staggered all this out.
I think this had E3 announcement written all over it. Basically, like it was going to be like the anniversary of Mario Maker's release. So here's like the big
35. Yeah.
But instead of holding it off, they're like, screw it, just push it out.
But people are going to be home anyway, so just like give them something to do.
It was nice of them to do that. I appreciate it because it pulled me back into the game. I kind of needed it.
Was Steve, were you the first person to beat Briefcase level 8?
No, some random
No,
jaboofer.
I don't
Was
think
it,
so.
it wasn't Skankor, was it?
No, it's some random jaboofer.
Yeah, it was some rando.
Man.
I
Steve,
don't
what do you
think
think of
Skankor's
Briefcase
even-
level 8? I know, what do you think of the clown car specifically, and what do you think of the clown car, and why is it bad?
I don't have any issue with the clown car. I have issue with no checkpoint. That bothers the hell out of me. But I get why there's no checkpoint.
I think it cheapens it, and also
Because Asif wants to be like the last level of like the modern Mario games, like that that final
Well,
level
okay,
of
if it
3D World,
cheapens
like
it,
that
I
final
still want
level
a
in
checkpoint.
Odyssey.
there are issues with checkpoints in that game. You can't have a clear condition in a game
That's
with
true,
a checkpoint.
You
And
do have to do some gymnastics to get checkpoints.
And because I ran out of keys, I think it was the last Koopaling that you have to fight. It's in an open area, right?
Yeah, you just keep going to the right.
So I
Yeah.
had to make killing him the clear condition. And like I said,
yeah.
so much of this was built from constraints of the game.
Yeah.
If that wasn't the case, it would have opened the door for a checkpoint. But the minute you put a checkpoint down, you throw out clear
Yeah, you
condition.
can't do a clear condition.
This is
Alright.
your fault,
That was
Nintendo.
that was one of the reasons why, Steve, that I didn't include a checkpoint. I do think, though, that, like, it took me, like, 3 weeks to clear the frickin' level.
There
Like,
was a point where I thought I was out of the hot seat. I'm like, well, Asif's not going to beat this thing. But then he kept texting me. I'm like, fuck, he's Asif. He's going to eventually beat this thing because he's just going to keep throwing himself at it.
Now I take back all the bad things I was saying about no fucking checkpoint. Now that I know that.
it's not that I didn't consider it. Obviously, I did, and there are levels of mine that I did put a checkpoint in. But I think this level stands on its own without a checkpoint. But yeah, it would have been impossible without this DLC. To me, it's my favorite level I've ever made. It may not be everyone's favorite level I've ever made, but it's. I haven't made enough. I haven't really been able to put my heart into another level the same way since.
All joking aside, I actually do think it is a really well designed level. I do think it is better than Briefcase Level 5, and I thought that was a legitimately very well designed Mario level.
That's what you asked for. You're like,
I know, this is on me. I know.
You're like, you asked for this.
And God bless Nintendo for not forgetting Super Mario 2, because that's always been the stepchild of the series.
But where's the game style, Ozzy? They're so close.
I know.
Power up without the game style.
Yeah, you take what you can get, little by little. Just
I'm like holding out hope that we get like one more DLC for this game, and it's the game style.
The one thing we'll never, yeah, I'm resigned to the fact that we will never get a true sequel to Super Mario Bros. 2.
No.
But you know what? I'll take this. This is good enough for me for right now.
Oh no! And what
good.
it did, like Grand Pooh Bear has an amazing level that uses it. Like there are so many cool ways to use that Mario 2 mushroom. But
It's a bummer too, because there are certain elements of Super Mario 2 that are some of my favorite things from the series. Birdo, the radishes, the flying birds.
Oh, yeah, the carpets.
I can't remember his name, but the mask that chases you when you pick up keys.
They added that in too. They added that in the update. That was so awesome.
Yep. That's in your freaking level.
Yeah.
I did include that. Yeah, I forgot that.
Fanto put it in his level too.
Fanto is the name of that mask.
Fanto. Yeah, Fanto.
Yeah, Fanto is.
That's what I mean. Like there was a lot. This was
Super Mario 2 USA is it is better than the real Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like Lost Levels has a lot of cheap shit in it.
Yeah, that game is bad.
I love that.
I wouldn't call it bad, but there was a lot of cheap shit in Lost Levels.
You just gotta, it's repetition, David. Dying is part of learning and getting better at it.
Spider-Man gif.
It's funny you mention that, because that's what I kept going back to when I was playing Dark Souls or Demon Souls recently, was like, I'm never going to let anyone who likes this game complain about my Mario Maker levels again.
You're targeting me! I'm being singled out!
No, that goes for Sam, that goes for TJ,
okay.
that goes for Krabs, or anyone else who likes Demon Souls.
I never complained about your Mario Maker levels.
Well, now you can't.
And you can play Demon Souls for 9 hours to get past one boss, you can play my levels.
I have played your levels for 9 hours.
Same core philosophy of repetition, knowing what to do, when to do it. Like, Steve, how many tries did it take you to beat that level?
Oh, I lost count. How many? Probably 50 to 100, maybe.
Also, if I've played your levels, and I've spoken to you about my appreciation of just how much of a learning experience it is, and how much they'll kick me in the dick along the way. Because they will.
Yeah, but Asif, let me ask you this. Does Demon Souls have a clown car?
Basically.
It does. It's called Swamp of Sorrow.
It's got its own clown car.
Speaking of swamps, are we ready to go on to another one?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't nominate this. I didn't nominate this, but I did see it on the list. I think David, I don't know if he did this or if it was Sam. Was it Sam?
Yeah.
So Remnant from the Ashes, Swamps of Courses. I forgot about this.
Oh yeah.
And this was a really fantastic DLC. I fear for the momentum of Mario Maker, but Swamps of Courses added two new modes to Remnant, and I know that it's a game that we talked about last year with our awards, and it's something that several of us really enjoy. I think a lot of us have played through the game, but it added a survival mode, which is a pretty cool mode where you can spawn in solo, you can spawn in as a group, and it's completely separate from the regular experience where you're kind of working through the story in the main mode, in the main adventure mode. You start off, you have a little bit of currency, you can buy like one or two things, like maybe a piece of armor or a weapon, or something to that effect, and then you go into, it's not procedurally generated necessarily, but you go into a random world and you work through a certain pathway and fight a boss. And the entire time you're doing this, you're killing enemies, sometimes drop armor, sometimes drop weapons, sometimes they drop buffs, and you're getting more powerful. But the timer's always ticking. And once the timer ends, the enemies level up. So there is a race for you to kill enemies and level yourself up before the enemies level up. And if you're quick enough, then you can kind of get ahead of it a little bit and you can blast through, and eventually you get to a boss fight. And if you win that boss fight, you go back to the, I forget what they call it. There's like a labyrinth or something. You go back to a labyrinth and you can spend the currency that you've earned in that part of the fight. That's get more powerful, and you go in again. But again, once you re-enter the world, the timer is always going. So eventually, you end up in a position where the game is going to catch up with you. At some point, you're going to meet a boss that you just can't beat, or the enemies are going to get too tough and you can't level as fast as you need to. But the cool thing that I like about this is that whatever you earn and unlock, like let's say that there are certain specific weapons, I don't know about armor, that are unique to this mode. But if you unlock it in that mode, you take it back with you when you go into the regular adventure mode of the game. So if you are just screwing around and you want to play for like a half an hour and you don't want to get deep into the story, or maybe you don't want to get into a situation where you have to play, for 7 to 10 hours to get to a certain point where you can unlock a certain thing. Well, you can just go into survival mode, and unlock that. Again, solo and co-op, but the DLC also added a new, it's separate from the story, but it is more story of the game, and it's called the adventure mode, and it did add a new boss that players had been asking for from the base game, that they were surprised wasn't a boss in the base game. It's added new skins, new weapons. I believe it added new armor, and really, it's not usually my kind of thing, but I found that was just a wonderful mode, and I was able to jump in with friends and like choose the world or whatever, and essentially just go through that world trying to grind for a certain piece of gear. And what I loved about it was that everything I earned, I kept. So I never felt like I went into this adventure mode and I did something and I unlocked it, but now I go back into the story and I don't have that thing. No, I have that thing, and now I can use it in this other mode, or vice versa. So, again, I don't think it's, there's some really good Mario Maker arguments, but we've had a lot of love for Remnant, so I thought that somebody should speak to it.
I'm glad you did. Remnant it's one of my favorite Souls-likes. And to see that game still being supported, I think is pretty awesome. And with quality content too.
There's another game that's just recently received some support, but before I get into that, I just want to give an honorable mention to Mortal Kombat 11 with the not to be confused with the Aftermath expansion. They added a lot of free stuff in that DLC too. So if you didn't want to buy Aftermath, you got friendships. And the fact that they brought friendships back, something I've been asking for like decades, like I'm so happy to see that, because as cool as the fatalities are, the fatalities have been like incredible this generation, but it gets old after a while. Like eventually you kind of want a new way to like, you know, just finish a fight. So that they added modern day friendships, which is like basically a lot more detail, like really cool stuff like Sub-Zero's ice cream cone and like everything else like that. Really awesome stuff. The fact that Rambo plays laser tag just got me.
That's fucking hilarious.
RoboCop like breakdancing, like Terminator riding the motorcycle, like all that stuff is so much fun. So,
I watched this interview with Ed Boon about him, and he was like, the dumber the idea, the more likely we were to implement it.
I saw that same interview, and I was just like, I was like, I can't believe they ran with some of this stuff. And I remember like the one that really stood out to me. Go ahead, David. I'm sure it'll.
I'm really with you. I think the fatalities viscerally and visually have been fantastic in 11, but like my problem with that game's fatalities is actually connected to the finisher moves. Like the finishers in many cases are as over the top or more so as the fatalities, so the fatalities almost feel kind of redundant.
Are those
I feel
fatal
like,
blows or whatever?
Yeah, but like much more damaging. Like before, an X-ray was like 1 or 2 big hits. These are like 3 or 4, and they can last like 20 to 30 seconds, which is almost the runtime or longer of a fatality. Yeah. And so I feel like friendship is better for variety, you know, because the fatalities just feel watered down and or redundant compared to
even in the pro scene, like they don't even bother with fatalities because the
real way you flex on somebody in Mortal Kombat 11 is brutalities, because those are much harder to set up and they're like surprising when you get them because they're so fast.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, TJ, I think you mispronounced Babality. When are those going to come back?
They came back in 9.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, they did. Okay.
Yeah, when they brought that Babality in 9, I was like, where are my friendships? I wrote an article on Shack going, where are my friendships? And I was just so happy to see that come back. And I got all of them at the time for a video on Shack. So go check that out if you haven't seen the friendships. They're so much fun to watch. But the game that I wanted to talk about in terms of games that are getting support, we got to talk about Left 4 Dead. They got an update after this long. And it was a community-made update, sure, but Valve took a look at it and they go, you guys did some really good work here. We haven't touched this game in almost a decade, but you know what? This is an official update now. So,
isn't that how Team Fortress was born? Like, it was like a community-made dev, or a community-made mod, and then Valve's like, we like this.
I didn't think Valve knew how to do that anymore.
They still know. Deep down, they're like, they know that Left 4 Dead 2 is like one of the finest video games ever made, and they're like, well, we're gonna push this because this is great. No, I still play that game probably once a month at least, and it's great.
Did you play The Last Stand, Asif?
I have not played it yet.
Ooh,
I know.
That sounds like something to get into. Just the fact that they've expanded that campaign so much. I feel like it's worth giving a shot, and it definitely deserves a shout out because of how much it's meant to the chatty community. Like a lot of our chatty posters still play that game. And still like
Romsteady wrote his own mod or mutator called Shack Mutations, and we call it the Boing mod because basically you bounce all over the place in it. You're super fast. Like it's really fun. So the only way I've played Left 4 Dead 2 in the past like 2 years has been Boing. So I was waiting until they implemented Boing for this new DLC. I don't know if Romsteady's gotten around to doing that yet or not.
Excellent. The Last Stand is worth playing through just for like, I think it's something like over 20 new environments. It's like just wild to think about. So good on Valve for finally acknowledging this and for saying like, we're going to make this an update and we're going to put this on sale. We want people to play this again. It's like, it's been too long. Like Left 4 Dead has been an old friend.
They need a new one so badly.
Count to 3.
You know Valve can't count to 3.
Fine. Yeah. Left 4 Dead Alex.
And I mean, like
Left 4 Dead Alex. Okay, if they do a VR Left 4 Dead,
They tried, cool. And they said it was a bad time.
Prepare to puke in that game if you...
Yeah, they tried, and they said it was a bad time. Like, if
Come on, they could do like something like Saints and Sinners.
I want to say it was in Jeff Keighley's documentary about Half-Life Alyx, but they talked about some of the experiments they did, and Left 4 Dead and Portal were two of those experiments they did before they landed on a Half-Life game. And
they're gonna make a Left 4 Dead. They're gonna make a VR Portal work someday. It won't be any
maybe.
Once the hardware gets better.
I feel like the lab was VR Portal. Because it was in the Aperture Labs universe, you know?
Right.
Some of those games felt like that. I don't know. The lab is such a weird experiment, but it felt... there was like a robot... I think there was like a robot surgery sim as one of the mini games in the lab. And that was like that was like definitely straight out of the Portal universe, you know, like, so I feel like they've dabbled in it, but the act of shooting yourself through teleportation holes in a universe, I think it could lead to a lot of nausea in VR. But just outside of that, just give me a flat screen Left 4 Dead 3 experience. I know Turtle Rock is working on Back 4 Blood, which is kind of the spiritual successor to this series. But man, how awesome is it that we're getting new content for Left 4 Dead 2? Yeah, I agree. This is definitely one of the best DLC to come out this year.
But the fans had to make it, though.
Because they officially adopted it and published it, right? So that's why it's classified as DLC,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Like,
otherwise we call it best mod.
It was featured on the Steam sale. Valve has been promoting it. Yeah, it's a proper DLC.
You know what's unfortunate? A lot of people say they want a Left 4 Dead game, and I'm gonna go to bat for this thing. It's not a 2020 game, but like World War Z is like the closest thing we've gotten to a proper Left 4 Dead spiritual successor, and not a lot of people play it. Like, not nearly. It doesn't get nearly as much love as it really ought to, because it is a pretty good version of what Left 4 Dead does. I really like the World War Z video game. I hate the movie, but the game, pretty decent.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Fair enough.
I have a nomination, and I think it's hard for games like the same thing. When Bill spoke to Remnant, like there's only 2 people that play it on staff, and I think I'm the only one that plays this game on staff like a lot, and that's the Dead by Daylight. They had 4 DLCs this year. It would have been 5, but COVID interfered with the 5th one. In those 5 DLCs, they introduced 4 new survivors and 4 new killers. And they also did a free update with all the maps have been completely redone. And that's not just a Series X thing. Everything across the board is getting new maps, including PS4 and Xbox One. And they also did, I don't know if this counts. They also did crossplay this year, but so did Rocket League. Across all platforms. So they talk about like all this content they released that just opened up the game wide open for so many people and added so much more competitiveness and so much more variety to the game that already had a huge amount of variety. I mean, I think Nintendo released 2 Smash Brothers characters this year, right? 2, me and Ming and Minecraft, and I think Aftermath.
Min Min and Steve.
Yeah, 2, and then Minecraft. Aftermath. Ozzy, how many characters did that introduced? 4.
We had Aftermath as expansion, but I wanted to acknowledge the friendships because that was the free update.
Okay, no, but I'm just saying, like in terms of like content released,
right.
Like for characters for a competitive game.
So are you making the case for Captain Falcon's ramen date with Kirby as the best DLC?
I love that moment.
I think Dead by Daylight as a game as a service, it does a fantastic job at cumulative updates, like a lot, and not that we don't go these year-long gaps with nothing and then get a big giant one. We get stuff like every quarter to keep us coming back again and again. And even if you don't want to buy a new character or don't want to play the new character, they do small things like, just completely redoing the maps. That changes the game dramatically when you change a map ever so slightly. I think they definitely deserve a nomination. Like I said, I'm the only one on staff that plays the game. So
I don't play it actively, but I agree with you, Ozzy or Greg. The Silent Hill update for Dead by Daylight was maybe one of my favorite things this year, and it really got me thinking about why I'm not playing that game. It really got me kind of upset that I'm not playing that game. That I should be playing that game, because adding Pyramid Head and adding Alyssa was one thing, but they also added a map that has 2 states that moves between Happy Time, normal, being hunted by the killer map, and then Silent Hill world map. I love how they incorporate the mechanics of whatever I love how they incorporate the spirit of whatever they're bringing into the game into the mechanics. Because why the hell would you have a Silent Hill-esque map if it couldn't move between normal state and demonic state? That is literally one of the core components of Silent Hill.
And they also made it as close to 1-to-1 of the original map as they could without sacrificing gameplay mechanics. So it's really close to the original map of the high school or the elementary school that you're in.
So I agree with you. Dead by Daylight's DLC game this year has been top notch.
Do we have any other nominations?
Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer update and
Sekiro.
Ghost of Tsushima's update is pretty awesome.
I mean, it's multiplayer. It's very big.
Oh, Blake.
Probably for the same. I would argue for the same reasons as Goose Game. Just being able to take on some of those missions with a friend. It adds a lot to the experience, and it makes it different at the same time.
Did you want to speak to this one, Blake? The Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer update?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to win. I'd rather just keep moving on.
Okay.
Is that about it then?
Yeah, no one's really gonna... Is anyone going to bat for Sekiro?
No, it was an update that happened. I don't think it really substantially changed anything.
Okay, so let's move on to the vote. Greg, you gonna vote for Dead by Daylight?
Yeah, I have to. The crossplay and all the DLCs this year were so big for that game. It was a big deal for that game.
They've done a great job supporting that game.
Yeah, they have.
It's as an ongoing game, they've kept it fresh, and every time they do an update, it's pretty material.
In an era when games come and go, sometimes within a week, the support for that game, and not just churning stuff out, but making really quality content is impressive.
Yeah,
it's 5 years old this year.
Yeah, that's correct. That's 50 years old.
Yeah.
Behavior Interactive is making better Silent Hill content than Konami is.
That's so true.
That's
sad. That's very sad. Steve.
I'm going with Super Mario Maker 2, and we
Mario Maker 2.
We didn't even touch on one of my favorite power-ups, the frog suit.
Oh yes.
Oh my god, the frog suit! And they made it better too.
My frog suit level is one of the worst things ever created.
There's an argument for the frog suit period being the worst thing ever created in a Mario game.
I made a frog suit level designed with multiplayer in mind.
Oh my goodness.
And you know how bad online multiplayer is in that game?
It's pretty bad.
It's
not
bad.
Smash bad.
It's an auto-scroll level.
Come on,
you're
man.
just asking for it.
Disgusting.
I'm a monster.
Who do you think you are?
I don't know. It was for the stimulus games. Okay. Sam is voting for Remnant. Chris is voting for Mario Maker 2. He couldn't make it to this part of the vote. TJ.
Yeah, if Mario Maker 2 weren't there, I'd probably vote for Dead by Daylight because I really do appreciate the content they put out for this year, and I really do love that Silent Hill content. But Super Mario Maker 2's DLC was largely more important to an entire community than anything else on this list, I think.
Super Mario Maker 2! Okay, Bill, what's your best DLC?
Remnant.
Joining Sam. Josh, you there?
Josh put down Remnant, but he had to step away for a minute. But I think it's an E4 channel.
Remnant for Josh. Okay. Blake, do you have a vote?
Super Mario Maker 2!
Super Mario Maker 2. David.
Super Mario Maker 2. If the world builder wasn't exactly what I wanted to see this year, I would definitely go with Remnant. I love that game, like I said earlier. But yeah, 2D platformers are my favorite type of game, and Mario's one of my favorite franchises. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Ozzy.
I'm gonna be the lone voice for a Goose Game Co-op. It took the number of playable geese and doubled it.
You're not, Ozzy. Donovan also voted for Goose Game.
Oh, nice. Not alone on that.
Well, this may
assholes mode enabled.
This may surprise people, but I'm gonna vote for Super Mario Maker 2.
Shocker of the year.
Play off this level and you'll hate the game and never play it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We live in a world where everyone loves Demon Souls, but I think my Mario Maker is
I don't like
too
Demon Souls,
hard.
but I
I feel targeted again.
That and hating life as you were trying to just get the past completions. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yes.
I'm not ever doing this.
No, of course not. You're not good at video games. But if you're good at video games, you might actually enjoy a challenge. I'm just saying. If you're actually halfway decent at video games, like my buddy Steve T over there.
Yeah, jeez. Come on, Greg.
Step your game up.
Greg.
It's not like if I can do it.
Greg, you son of a bitch.
That 4-hour stream of Asif looking down and sad was just completely deterred me from trying any of his levels.
They are good levels.
When he died, every single time he tried to pass it, I'm like, I don't want to feel that way.
The sense of accomplishment I get whenever I upload a level is very high because I know how tough these levels are. And I think that right there is the brilliance of the Mario Maker equation. That you can't upload it without being
otherwise that game would have been a dumpster fire.
Trash.
There would have been so much
abysmal.
Yeah.
And there would have been soft locks and all sorts of crap that would exist all the time.
It's true.
But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to make Briefcase Level 8 without this DLC update. It pulled me back into the game in a big way. I love this game. I recommend people still check it out and check out my levels, and it's a wonderful thing. It was our Shacknews Game of the Year 2019, and it is our best DLC of 2020. Super Mario Maker 2!